Good evening and welcome to Northbeat. I'm Lainey Lambrink. We start with an update to a child pornography case in the Yukon. We now have the name of a former Yukon teacher on call who was charged with possession of child pornography. Andrew Cook also faces a charge of possession of a prohibited device. Jackie Hong brings us the latest.
The Yukon government and RCMP will not confirm Cook's identity, but the CBC has verified with multiple sources that the 37-year-old is the subject of a press release issued by the territorial government yesterday. Court documents show Cook was arrested on Christmas Eve and released on conditions. They include not having access to the internet and not going anywhere a person under 18 may be, including public parks, schools, or community centers. Court documents allege Cook possessed child pornography between 2018 and last October. He's also accused of having a loaded firearm magazine he did not have a license for. Cook has not yet responded to the CBC's requests for comment. His LinkedIn profile also indicates that he's worked for the Yukon government in various roles beginning in 2016, including as a human resources consultant and corporate policy and procedures analyst. Cook's first court appearance is scheduled for late February. Jackie Hong, CBC News, Whitehorse.
A couple living on Walsh Lake near Yellowknife discovered a bizarre act of arson late last week. And as the CBC's Luke Carroll tells us, it involved a snowmobile, bullets, and a propane tank.
Alex Parrott says last Saturday night he noticed headlamps near an abandoned snowmobile, around 700 meters from his home.
And so I kind of didn't think anything of it. I just was like, oh, they must be coming to get the snowmobile. And I was in the middle of feeding our son, and I was actually going to go out and help them after I was done feeding him. And then as I went to go back outside, I noticed that there were flames.
Parrott later went to investigate the scene, and what he discovered was a burned snowmobile and propane tank that had been fired on, as bullet casings were found in the direction of his home. Parrott says he and his partner were furious. The incident was posted on a Yellowknife Facebook page, which did lead to a silver lining, with some youth helping clean up the scene.
It was kind of really nice to see these young guys who are in high school want to take the initiative to do that. I had planned on going to do it, and then the fact that there was these other guys that were like, yeah, we're going to do it, we want to help, it was really refreshing.
The mess from the damage was reported to the federal and territorial government. Luke Carroll, CBC News, Yellowknife.
A young polar bear in northern Alaska has been found dead from avian influenza, also known as bird flu. It's the first recorded case involving a polar bear in the state. Dr. Robert Gerlach, Alaska's state veterinarian, says birds with the virus have been found in that area. He says the bear likely ate one of those birds. That's how it became sick. He says avian influenza continues to spread among wildlife and it needs to be taken seriously.
Looks like it is a pandemic that it's spreading across all the countries of the globe and having a very significant impact on wild bird populations there, and in some areas, mammal population.
Gerlach says he's concerned marine mammals will be infected. Since the virus emerged in 2020, it has spread to every continent except Australia. Alaska is in the center of a migratory bird route, so it's at a higher risk of seeing avian flu in the wild. 22 communities in Nunavut are getting money for housing. Federal Housing Minister Sean Fraser announced $27 million in Iqaluit today to fast-track 459 housing units over the next 3 years. The city of Iqaluit will see $8.9 million of that to start on 160 units. That money will go mostly toward infrastructure and reducing administrative barriers to construction. Nunavut Housing Minister Lauren Kusugak says he had a long meeting with Fraser yesterday, and he outlined Nunavut's housing priorities.
In Nunavut, we need as much funding as we can get, and that in future announcements, when they do come, the $4 billion announcements and so on, that we need more than base plus funding.
The money announced today comes from the Housing Accelerator Fund. Fraser's visit to Iqaluit comes on the heels of a scathing report from the Federal Housing Advocate. It called Inuit housing conditions a staggering failure. The government of Nunavut has vowed to build 3,000 new housing units by 2030. Blatchford Lake Lodge near Yellowknife officially has new owners. The Nunavut-based tourism company Arctic Kingdom announced their acquisition of the property yesterday. The NWT Wilderness Lodge closed suddenly in 2023. The CEO of Arctic Kingdom says he looks forward to enhancing an already strong establishment. He says the lodge is considering offering new programs, including tourism training.
Leveraging the location as a meeting point to facilitate north-south links and strengthen them and build them, I think also can provide a whole lot of opportunities in the future.
The company says it hopes to open the lodge in the coming months. Kwautak Inuit are seeing unusually warm weather this winter. It's causing concerns to local hunters because the ice is not forming. Hunters were still boating at the end of December to hunt for mammals, and that's uncommon. A local hunter says the government should get involved by studying climate change.
This might have an effect on us because we hunt to survive, and I'm not sure what will happen to the polar bears and seals when there are changes to the climate. This is so unpredictable, and I'm hoping someone will do something about it.
Uvaut says the ice is slowly forming, but it's still not thick enough to go hunting by snowmobile. Temperatures are expected to rise to -6 by next week. He adds that some birds which would normally leave for the winter are still in the community. The Yukon River in Dawson City is starting to show signs of ice formation, but it's still not enough to begin construction on the town's annual ice bridge. This time last year, the ice bridge was open to light vehicles. This year, it's open water. People living on the west side of the river will have to continue using a different route that connects West Dawson to a Trondeck subdivision. Sebastian Weiser lives across the river, and he isn't confident an ice bridge will happen.
There's no chance in hell that it's going to close completely. And by the time it would eventually close up by the fair landing, it will be the end of winter by then anyway. So I don't see how they would spend 3 weeks to build an ice bridge that will last maybe a month and a half or two at the most.
The Highways and Public Works Department says colder temperatures are expected to continue. That means favorable conditions for work to begin. It's urging people to avoid crossing the river until a sanctioned ice bridge is in place. It says it's too dangerous. The department is directing people to 511yukon.ca for information on the status of the ice bridge. A conversation now with one of the people involved in a harrowing rescue operation last week. An Air Tindy plane carrying 10 people crashed near the Diavik diamond mine in the NWT. Conditions were blizzard-like at the time. The military sent a Hercules aircraft to help. Search and rescue technicians brought in food, shelter, and heat and medical help to the stranded crew and passengers, making a long wait a little more comfortable. But first, those technicians braved the wind and the snow, and they jumped from the Hercules plane circling above the crash site.
The visibility was a bit challenging for sure. The wind was challenging, but it was like any other normal jump.
How close were you able to land to the crash site?
We landed exactly at the crash site.
How were you able to do that?
Good training, procedure in place, yeah.
What was that moment like when you landed there and you mentioned those 10 passengers who needed help? What was that like?
Yeah, so first thing we established communication with the aircraft because I knew Captain Shaw was looking forward to hear my voice and make sure we were all okay. So we passed on that the 3 jumpers were okay, and then we moved on to the crash site to assess the patients.
How did they react when you showed up?
So 2 of them met us. There were 6 of them in a tent. They did their own survival shelter, but that was quite exposed with the wind, and 6 of them were trying to stay warm in there. I was quite happy to hear them talk and heard that they only had minor injuries at that point. But 4 of them were still in the airplane, with 2 being unable to move. So we left 1 team member to attend the 6 in the tent and then proceeded to the wreckage. In the wreckage we found 4 patients, 2 unable to move, so we administered some medical treatment there and were able to help. And 1 team member stayed with those patients in the wreckage throughout. As I was getting out to establish communication with the aircraft.
Can you maybe walk us through what supplies were dropped from the airplane? I guess when you parachuted, you only parachuted with yourself, or did you have anything with you?
That's correct. When we parachute, we have equipment. So we're about close to, because it was a mission, and we needed medical supply and our own survival supply. We had about 100-pound strapped in front of us in our bag, and to include snowshoes and yeah, like I said, warm clothing for ourselves and medical equipment. But we needed more supply: tents, heating sources, food, and warm clothing. So that's something that's inside the aircraft. We got plenty of that gear inside the aircraft, and the people flying it are able to parachute whatever we need and give it to us from the air. Something really important is there's a team of 4 members of the mine that came and were able to make their way to the scene. It was quite the travel for them at night and in the blizzard, but they were able to come and help, and I was really happy to see them. Really hard worker, tough people, and they were a huge assistance to me. So with their help, I was able to recover all my equipment that was dropped, and we established camp close to the wreckage where we were more sheltered from the wind. And we transfer all those 10 patients inside our tents and start providing medical treatment and actively rewarming them because they're quite cold at that time.
What was the morale like of the passengers when you landed?
I think they're all relieved to see us coming. The same way I was relieved to see the miners coming to help us. And I think the morale was quite good throughout the night, even though they were in a dire situation. They're all good people, and we all spent the night together for 14 hours, actually. And we laughed, we made exchanges and memories, and some of them it's an experience we'll remember for the rest of our life. So yeah, no, the morale was quite good. Everybody was fed, warm meal that we provided, and yeah, we exchanged a meal, exchanged a few stories, and we're quite pleased to be together in that situation.
We'd like to make a correction to a story we ran yesterday about Nunavut's first baby of 2024. In our story, we mistakenly referred to the baby as Hazik. She is in fact Hazel Kitiklila, born on New Year's Day at the Winnipeg Women's Hospital. Mom Siobhan Kitiklila says the family is looking forward to having Hazel at home in Arviat.
How can any of this be fair?
Now you might think, hey, we just need more doctors, but that's not really it.
A ration scheme here shows you where it starts, where it ends.
Were you really willing to risk that job?
Yes.
At Thunder Bay's favorite festival, Wake the Giant.
Ta-da! There it is.
That same woman from the SEC keeps calling. Can I give her your number?
No.
Michael Lazaridis, want to come and answer some questions?
Why is the SEC looking at us? I'm sure it's nothing. Yeah.
I'm just wondering how you convinced all these engineers from around the world to come all the way to Canada. Do you know what the sentence is for multi-million-dollar stock fraud?
It doesn't matter how full of people your house is as long as it's full of love. Now, today is not about the future. It's not about the past. It's about this moment.
You can't go halfway with Swan Lake.
There's a lot of stress. I love ballet, and sometimes it feels like it doesn't love me back.
The stakes become very high.
We're just trying to survive right now.
Some people rise and some people don't.
The Great Canadian Baking Show is back.
And the winner is?
Alan, no, it's too soon for that.
How about now?
Give me that.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Welcome back. Health Canada has approved a new RSV vaccine aimed at protecting 2 vulnerable groups of people, adults over 60 and pregnant Canadians who pass the antibodies to their newborns can now be immunized. But it might be a while before those who are most in need can get the shot. Carolyn Dunn explains.
The new RSV vaccine, Abrezvo, is already in production and in demand globally. Now it's approved for use in this country.
It was tested in pregnant people and it was found to be safe.
A Canadian first, it's to be given to individuals who are 32 to 36 weeks pregnant. The antibodies are transferred through the placenta, meaning newborns are protected from birth to 6 months.
It has been shown to reduce the risk of RSV hospitalization in infants during the first 6 months of life by almost 60%.
That holds promise to help ease a healthcare system routinely overwhelmed by pediatric RSV. It's a highly contagious respiratory illness that can have severe symptoms, especially in young children and seniors. The new vaccine is also approved for use in people over 60, the second to get the green light from Health Canada for that use.
The head's going to go right there.
While approved, the vaccine is not yet available to patients in Canada, and there are still no official recommendations for its use here either. Pfizer says it's committed to bringing a supply to Canada as quickly as possible, but that means negotiating those recommendations with a federal agency and with the provinces about whether there will be a cost to patients. All said, it won't likely be available until at least next fall.
If you want to reduce its burden, you need to have widespread vaccination at the population level anyway. And so that's an ongoing conversation that we'll need to have with the public.
Its success, say doctors, will depend on uptake. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
A new study is calling attention to the growing risk of technology-based sexual harassment in Canadian schools. It comes as authorities in Winnipeg investigate deep fake nude photos of female students circulating at a high school. The CBC's Deanna Sumanak-Johnson has more on this story.
Tech-facilitated sexual violence and harassment are on the rise in Canada.
It can be coercion, for example, to send nude images. It can be what we call cyber flashing, like getting sent unwanted sexualized images. Things like having your intimate images shared without your consent.
Still, according to a new report, it's rarely addressed in schools, even when teachers talk about cyberbullying.
Very few provinces and territories are actually talking about online forms of sexual violence.
Another problem, across Canada, the curriculum isn't keeping up with social media and other technologies that define teens' lives.
The newest culprit, use of AI to doctor images of teens and use them for embarrassment or sextortion, something that happened at a Winnipeg school just a few weeks ago.
It just caught like rapid fire. Everyone was talking about it.
This 15-year-old in New Jersey was informed her photos were AI manipulated to appear like pornography on Snapchat. The boy who is believed to have done it got a short suspension. Now the girl is speaking out alongside her mother. She wants to tell her story publicly to push for change.
And I was walking through the hallways and I see also these group of girls crying about the situation, and then I see these group of guys laughing at them. And so that's then I stopped being sad, and that's when I got really mad.
And my daughter asked me, she said, "Mom, I don't want to sit and pretend that nothing has happened and let them believe that everything is okay, because it's not. I would like to self-advocate."
This sexual health expert who gives talks in schools says there's one thing school boards can do immediately.
A lot of teachers are given very little support, very little training on this topic.
Something teachers tell her all the time.
I don't know what's age appropriate. They're really worried about how much information do I give a grade 8 student versus a grade 10 student.
Experts say it's also important for educators and parents alike to stay up to date on what technology teens are using, supporting them as they navigate the online world. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Labrador's Innu School Board is looking for ways to incorporate traditional culture into what students are learning. One initiative is a cabin youngsters can visit, not just to learn about that culture, but to live it. The CBC's Heidi Adder has this story.
More than a dozen students are spending the night at the Shajit Culture Cabin. It's their second time here as part of their on-the-land education, connecting Innu kids to their roots. After a day outdoors, they relax inside while food cooks on the wood stove.
It's good because it's part of our culture, and it's good. It feels it feels good because we're out of the school and we're spending more time together.
Rich's teacher, Simone Faulkner, says it's a great place for the students to open up and see their teachers in a new light.
It's really fun to bond with them in this way because you have a different relationship in the classroom then when you've had these types of experiences together.
The students learn how to cook over the wood stove, set snares, make Inu donuts, and more, but it's just the beginning. Mamujishkoda Mushudo Inu Education hopes to bring more cultural programming into the classroom as well, as they work to bridge traditional and modern ways. The Inu School Board is revising its curriculum and reworking its federal funding agreement, with language being a key aspect as they look to the future. Anne Margaret Snow hopes to help the kids with their Inuamun while out on the land.
Some of the kids don't go to the country and build cabins here. It's the first time, some of them, and they really like it.
The majority of kids hope to be back here soon, with many already planning what they want to do on the next trip, connecting to who they are.
And I love my culture.
Okay, bye.
Last on the agenda before calling it a night, a hike in the snow as they learn about the world beyond the classroom. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Shaji, Innu First Nation.
Students in Tuktoyaktuk are showcasing their culture. Wisdom Fest is back for another year. The fair celebrates heritage, passion, and scientific learning. The CBC's Des Loreen has more.
Family trees, drum dancing, and hunting. Just some of the culture on display at Mangalaluk School, part of its second annual Wisdom Fest fair.
Like we have students explore more relevant science through topics like navigation and hunting and fishing, weather predicting, plant medicine, igloo building, animal migration, seasonal patterns, and all that. And I think it's really nice for them to see that science does exist in their real life.
Students are given more freedom than in a traditional science fair. Gone are the trifold cardboard displays, now replaced with digital videos and computer presentations.
It's an opportunity for them to display, what they know, what they learned if they, go with their family out on the land. It's a time for them to display that.
The Wisdom Fest Fair will be taking place February 2nd in Tuk. Winners from that will participate in the regional event in Inuvik on February 23rd. Des Loreen, CBC News, Inuvik.
Running is a key component of traditional soccer, but have you ever imagined the sport without as much cardio? I know I have. Turns out walking soccer is a real thing. There's even a walking soccer World Nations Cup, and a team from Canada took part in it last year, making it all the way to the semifinals. Now, one soccer club in Yellowknife is trying to get people playing the game. The CBC's Mahnur Mubarak has more.
Walking soccer is a modified version of the sport. You can't run or jog, and physical contact isn't allowed, so you can't push or tackle anyone either.
Oh, I got you, girl!
Anyone from any age group can play, but it's supposed to be extra beneficial for older people and those with mobility issues. Joe Acorn is the founder of the Yellowknife Bay Soccer Club. It's trying to get enough participants signed up to start a program.
Life doesn't end at 40 or 45 or 50 or 60 or whatever. So this is a way for soccer to truly be soccer for life.
One player who's excited to take part in the program is Shirley Harrison. She's in her early 60s and says the program sounds fun.
And to not have to run and feel, like I just couldn't kind of keep up, but just to walk and just have the thrill of, like kicking that ball. And I just thought that sounds like something I could do.
If enough participants sign up, the program is expected to start in January, and games will be held at the Yellowknife Fieldhouse. Mahnur Mubarak, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Warm in parts of the Yukon, cold and crisp for much of the NWT, and relatively mild in Nunavut. Here is a look at the forecast across the north. And that's Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/north. We're going to end the show now with video from a square dancing competition in Rankin Inlet. Look at that. Looks like a lot of fun. Okay, thanks for watching. I'm Leanie Lambrink. Have a great weekend.
Her particular skill set can be helpful to us.
She's a con artist.
Instead of using your talents for crime, you'll be playing on our team.
I'm a cop.
You're not a cop. You have a badge?
Not yet.
A gun?
Soon.
Not ever.
I need to get off that boat and back to being a full-time detective, and you need to stay out of prison. The best way we do that is to keep our heads down and do as we're told.
90,000.
90,000.
The department will cover it, right?
No, they won't.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
What's so? The holly makes it look Christmassy.
I'm making some magic happen.
Moment of truth.
It's working.
Music. That's what always gives me a Christmas tingle. This is your future.
I'm in love.
I challenge you!
Everything ends in death.
Je m'appelle Brigitte. Je suis pas obéissante. Je suis piégée.
I was a grade 9.
Mr. Critch, you need glasses. Glasses? No, I just think the chalk is just a little soft.
One of these days, we're gonna have to grow up. But today is not that day.
I don't want us to get older either.
Son of a Critch. Watch free on.
The Great Canadian Baking Show is back.
It's time to get whisked away into a magical 10.
Whisked away? I see what you did there. It has begun.
Alan, please don't start with a
Donut.
pun competition.
I got my eyes on the pies.
We got a snake on the plane. What? Prepare for emergency landing.
Hang on, guys.
Alex likes things safe. Maybe you just haven't been taking the right risks. You might find your life dancing with danger.
We are calling it iPhone.
Why would anybody want a phone without a keyboard?
News you can trust. Delivered when you want, where you want. On Canada's News app. Download the free CBC News app. Watch CBC News Explore 24 hours a day for free.